Good morning from Costa Rica. Welcome to another episode of Morning Musings, where I jump on camera and talk about whatever comes to my mind. And today, I really didn't want to have to jump on and talk about what I'm about to talk about, but it's real life. Things happen, and I think it's very important to talk about this topic, especially after what just happened to me in the last 48 hours. So today I want to talk about listening to your intuition. Ladies, our intuition is our superpower. And I got into a predicament here in Costa Rica a few days ago because I didn't listen to my intuition. And I really learned some crucial lessons through this. So I don't think I would say I regret the decision I made. Although I didn't listen to my intuition, there was some learning that was to be done through this experience. And, I really did have some beautiful moments during the whole experience. So let me explain to you what I'm talking about. A few days ago, I was introduced to a fellow Canadian through a friend of a friend, and he lives here in Costa Rica, so I took advantage of the fact that he knows a lot more about Costa Rica and he could show me around type of thing, and I really put my trust in him. The very first time I met him was about a week ago, and I thought that he was genuine in certain areas. I thought that he was intelligent. I thought that he was a little bit inspiring, and he did definitely have some good qualities, but right off the bat I did realize that he had a big ego, and I could tell that he was a little bit narcissistic, maybe a sociopathic, something like that. Like, I definitely could tell that he thought highly of himself, but not so much in a positive way. He almost looked down on others with the way that he saw the world and his views on things. So I remember that evening going back to my hostel and messaging one of my girlfriends and letting her know what I thought about this guy. And I did mention that I thought he might be a little bit narcissistic or sociopathic. And so right there are my warning signs, and that was my intuition telling me, like, I don't know if you can trust this person fully. And he had proposed at that time a really crazy adventure where it'd be really off the beaten path and actually quite scary and risky. We were going to be going to a beach very far away from where I was, and it was a private beach with poachers and gang-related poachers. So I definitely knew I wasn't going to do that with him. But a few days later, he phoned me up and he said, "Hey, listen, I just got word that the turtles have arrived to bury their eggs on this particular beach. It's only an hour and a half away. Can I proposition you?" And he said, "I know that in a couple of days you need to go to that next town that you were planning on going to because you have a hostel booked. And I know that the bus ride there is going to be a shit show. One, your Spanish isn't very good. Two, you're going to have to take one bus, very long bus, to the big city, which is actually out of the way. And then you're going to have to take another bus and hope that they connect. So you're not waiting there too long in San Jose, which is a little bit more of a sketchy, scary city. And then you're going to have to find another bus to your destination. And with your lack of Spanish and that you're a solo female traveler, I wouldn't quite recommend that. And I want to proposition you by offering you this turtle adventure, but you will have to rent a car, and then I will drive you. After we're done seeing the turtles, we'll go to your next town, your next destination, and I will be your chauffeur. I will be at your beck and call. I will be your tour guide, and I will show you a great time." Those were his promises to me, and it sounded really good. I had to rent the car, pay for the gas, and pay for our first night's hostel. He said that he would chip in on the gas. Well, I took him up on the offer, and so I went, got the rental car, and I picked him and his puppy up, his dog, his rescue, and we went and started this adventure. And right off the bat, I could tell that he was quite demanding of me and not very polite. He never said please or thank you, and I ended up paying for the first night's meal for him. And the next day, when he ran out of smokes, he asked me, by the way, he's in a wheelchair, so every time that we'd stop to grab something to eat, or we'd have to go to a store or grab water or walk the dog or any of that, I would have to do that because it was a lot just to take him out of the vehicle. I would have to get his wheelchair ready, and then it would be this big ordeal. So naturally, I would just go in and do that myself. So the next day when he ran out of smokes, I was naturally going to go into the store and grab those for him. So before I went in, I decided to, go with my gut and say, hey, so are you going to transfer me this money for the cigarettes or for anything going forward? And he said, ooh, I really was not looking forward to having this conversation with you, but I'm going to actually need to borrow some cash. And everything that you pay for on this trip for me, I will have to pay you at the end of the month. Well, this was news to me, and this wasn't part of our deal. So, of course, naturally, in that moment, like we're already midway through this adventure, and I wasn't going to back out now. And I mean, if he has no cash, he has no cash. What am I to do now? We've already started this adventure. So I said, okay, that's fine, as long as you pay me back. I was hesitant, of course, but I really didn't feel I had any other option at this point. So he really put me in this predicament. And of course, I was a little bit upset about that, and he kind of broke my trust there. And so that was another red flag. We continued on our adventure. As our adventure went on, I found that he was very, very ignorant, very rude, and was talking down to me often. Of course, I'm in a foreign country for the first time, and I don't speak the language, and he does. And so oftentimes I would look to him for advice or for him to translate for me with other people. And I could tell that he was getting frustrated. But the way that he spoke to me was not cool. So the very next morning, the morning that we went to go see the turtles, I said to him, hey, I just want you to know that I do not tolerate disrespect, and I feel like you are talking down to me. So this is something that I would have never done in active addiction, and before all of the inner work and confidence work and boundaries work that I've done in the last couple of years, I would not have been able to communicate that to him. I would have shut down, and I would not have put up that boundary. But thankfully, I'm in a much better headspace now. I have control over my mind and my life, and I know how to put up boundaries. And ladies, if you don't know how to put up boundaries, this is something you need to do. You need to learn, because people respect that, and you'll get much further in life when you are able to put up boundaries. This is something that I teach in my 10-week Radically Reinvent Yourself program. It's so crucial, so crucial. Anyways, I digress. I thought, okay, this is good. And he said, yeah, I know, my mom always told me that I needed to have more manners and say please and thank you more often, and I couldn't come across as rude, and I am kind of an asshole, and I'm sorry about that. I will try harder. And I said, okay, thank you. To continue on throughout the day, and he didn't really change. I think that lasted a very short time, and it wasn't fun. We ended up on this mountain range that had cliffs on either side of us, and we got stuck on this mountain, driving through this mountain range for like an hour and a half. And every time that he would come close to the edge on my side, my knee-jerk reaction would be like, ooh, watch my side, or oh, you're coming close to the edge. Like, it was just like, it naturally just came out of me, even though I knew he didn't like when I did that. I couldn't help it. Like, I was, literally holding on to, like, in the car, like holding on to the handle and the side console, and just like tense as fuck, because this is really crazy and scary, and he was even scared, okay? And he's done all these crazy adventure trips and on his own and blah blah blah, but he was super scared as well. He's scared of heights. So every time I would say something, he would tell me to shut up. Yeah, he would tell me to shut up. Do you know how disrespectful that is? And how ignorant that is to speak to a woman like that? Any woman, but let alone a woman that you literally just met a few days ago, a woman who is not your woman. And ladies, let me set this straight. I would not put up with that from anyone, especially not someone I barely know. But I wouldn't put up with this from friends, from boyfriends, husbands. I don't give a fuck who you are. You will not tell me to shut up just because I'm scared. That is abuse. Narcissistic abuse. Anyways, there's so much more to this story. The experience was just terrible. His dog had gone like 12 hours in the heat without eating or drinking water. If it wasn't for me, his dog probably wouldn't have had any water or anything to eat. And near the end of the trip, it wasn't even the end of the trip. We still had another 2 days with that vehicle, but when we got to that second city, the town that I was supposed to be getting dropped off in, we were to get another hotel. And he was like, well, maybe we should book a hotel. Since our last evening together, maybe we should book a hotel with a hot springs. Let's just try to find a good deal, and I'll go half with you on that hotel. So I agreed, and I found a good deal. It was about $60 Canadian for this hotel for the evening. We get there, everything's good, and then at the end of me checking in, the gentleman says, and there's no pets allowed. And I said, oh shoot, we have a working dog. We have papers and everything. This gentleman's, my friend's in a wheelchair, and his dog is a working dog. Can you make an exception? And in Costa Rica, it's not mandatory to allow working dogs in public places, especially hotels, I guess. So he called his manager, the owner, I guess, and they said they would make an exception, and that was great. That was wonderful. So we were checking into the hotel room, and when the front desk guy came back up, and he said, hey, I'm so sorry, the owner called back, and he wanted me to let you know that we will have to charge you an extra $20 USD to have the dog in the hotel room. And this guy that I was with was not having it. He was broke, so of course, naturally, he wasn't up for paying an extra $20 USD for this room. He started yelling at the gentleman at the front desk, and I felt so bad for the gentleman because he was just the middleman. I just felt so bad. So when this gentleman left, I said to him, listen, that was not cool. You should not be yelling at him. If you want to yell at anyone, ask to speak to the manager, the owner, or whatever, and then yell at him. That was his decision. This guy is just telling you and relaying a message. We got into an argument over it. He thought the gentleman was rude because he came while we were eating pizza. Like, we walked into our hotel room with pizza, so he said he should have waited till we were done eating, and that was just so disrespectful. And I said, no. He wanted to let us know before we got comfortable in our room, because if in case we didn't want to pay that extra fee, at least we weren't completely unpacked and settled in. We could now go look for a new hotel room. I was seeing clearly. I was seeing that as what it was, and he was not having it. At the end of the argument, he decided to leave and go back to where he had to drop off the rental car. We were supposed to have the rental car for another 24 hours, and he was supposed to be staying with me for another 24 hours so I could take advantage of the $220 rental car and the $80 worth of gas that I put into it, so that we can go check out some local spots. But that never ended up happening. He ended up going home early. There's so much more to this story. I want to tell it, but basically I want you to know the gist of the story is that I got screwed over for the money that I had paid for all his meals, his cigarettes, his drinks, his dog food, everything. And I paid for everything else, which was fine. But the $150 that I spent on him alone, the money that he was supposed to pay me back, he is no longer going to be paying me back. And not only that, I had to rent another rental car. The whole entire experience cost me $650 and I am not going to be seeing any of that money. Zilch, $0 of that money will I be seeing again. He has completely blocked me off Facebook. He thinks the fact that he had to drive home that evening, although it wasn't my choice, it was his choice. I told him that I was okay with going to another hotel which would allow his dog for free, but he chose to want to leave that evening early, ripped me off from my own rental vehicle, and I actually had to rent another vehicle, drive back the 4-hour drive back to where we originally got the first vehicle and where he lives and where he was dropping the car back off. I had to drive back because I had left my laptop in that vehicle because I was pissed when I was unpacking it, and I also was not getting a response from him whether or not he was going to get the car cleaned, because I had also bought him plants on this trip that he was supposed to pay me back for, and so the back of this SUV was full of dirt. It really needed a good cleaning on the inside and the outside, and he would not respond to me when I asked him several times, are you going to get this car cleaned, because I do not want to get charged for the cleaning because they will rip us off. And I had a $1,250 deposit put on this vehicle, and I really didn't want any more trouble. At this point, I was upset, I was maxed out, I was used, ripped off, treated like shit, abused basically for 24 hours, and I didn't want any more surprises. So, long story short, ladies, I want you to make sure that you trust your instincts. We were given this power of intuition for a reason, to protect us. Yes, I never got hurt physically, and I'm okay. I'm in this beautiful location now. I'm happy. The only thing I really lost was a little bit of my peace of mind and quite a bit of money. So I'm really grateful that that's all that happened. But it was a very stressful 2 days. And if I would have listened to my intuition, I probably would have never gone on this adventure with this guy. And, I would have saved myself a lot of grief. So just listen to your intuition. A lot of times as women, we go into situations with men, whether that's like on dates or, maybe you're at a bar and you're hanging out with a guy and you get like a bad vibe. Listen to it. If you're going on dates with someone and you're seeing red flags, despite all of their good qualities, really look at those red flags. Those red flags are there for a reason. They're not nothing. It's very easy for us to ignore, the few little red flags that we see and just focus on the positives when we meet someone. But that's not okay, because oftentimes those will come to bite you in the ass later. Thank God that I'm sober, and I do believe that if I wasn't sober and if I hadn't done the inner work and the inner growth that I had done in the last few years, I, 1, wouldn't have been able to stand up to him. 2, it probably would have been a lot worse. Definitely would have been a lot worse. And 3, he is the type of guy that I think that if I was drunk around him, he might have taken advantage of me. So thank the Lord that I am sober and strong and powerful, sober warrior queen right here. But just a cautionary tale, guys. Whether it's in your everyday life, whether it's in the dating world, whether it's with friends, new friends that you're meeting, whether you're a solo traveler like me, whatever it is, just listen to your gut. You are a powerful woman with a natural instinct to read between the lines and to feel people out. So just use that power to your advantage and don't ignore the signs, because you don't want to be played like a fool. Anyways, I hope that you took something from the story. I hope that you will learn from my mistakes, and I hope you are healthy, happy wherever you are in the world. You deserve to be. Until next time, my friends. Mwah.